A unanimous jury has found Ghislaine Maxwell guilty of one of the worst crimes imaginable, facilitating and participating in the sexual abuse of children, crimes that she committed with her longtime partner and co-conspirator, Jeffrey Epstein. The road to justice has been far too long.
Yeah, it was a long road. Ghislaine Maxwell, who was the one who would coordinate things for Jeffrey Epstein, rub his feet on the airplane, all that stuff. She got convicted, right? But that's just the tip of the iceberg in the Jeffrey Epstein case because of what it represents. This is a billionaire pedophile with his own island and his own plane, and you've got the richest, most powerful people in the world, like flying on the plane and interacting with Epstein, right? So for years, people have looked at the case and said, well, why did he get such a sweetheart deal back in the early 2000s? And why has none of the information ever been made public? And then you had the Ghislaine Maxwell case, and everyone thought, okay, once she's convicted, this stuff doesn't need to be sealed. It can be released. And it seemed like the judge ordered that. And yet, still, the information doesn't come out. Everything's got black marks over it. Everything's redacted and withheld and held back, which undermines people's trust in our government, right? Because of all these powerful people interacting with Epstein. Well, why aren't we getting all the information? And now the story has taken on a life of its own. And for years, people are like, well, then Epstein dies in prison under dubious circumstances, right? And everyone, well, why did that happen? Because he knew too much. Well, okay, well, everything he knew, they should have all the information. Yeah, but we've never seen it. So now it looks like we're getting closer to seeing a lot more of it. We've got a new attorney general making a promise to release this information and make it public. So the initial release, not a ton of new stuff, but some of the names from the flight logs. Let's take a look. Prince Andrew of England, we heard his name before. Kate Blanchett, Naomi Campbell, Bill Clinton, we heard him before. David Copperfield, Cameron Diaz, Leonardo DiCaprio, Louis Freeh, who was a former director of the FBI, Al Gore, Stephen Hawking, Michael Jackson, the king of pop, Donald Trump, a neighbor from West Palm Beach, now the president, plus dozens of more. But what do we know about this? Is more coming? Do we have context of why these people are on the plane, where they're going, when they're going, with whom they're going? Let's get some information. Joining us, reporter Kate Hussey with Scripps News Group in West Palm Beach, Florida. Kate, great to see you.
Yeah, Vinny, great to see you too.
So are we getting more than just a list of names? Are we getting some context? Do we know how many times they're flying? Are they going to the island? Who are they with? Are we getting information like that?
Yeah, Vinny, it's interesting that you mentioned before that we have really received little to no new information, and that's the sense that we got from these documents was little to no context surrounding these flight logs and 95 pages of Epstein's contacts from what's known as his black book. And I think there's a lot of disappointment surrounding the release of these 200 pages because that's what I think we've all been wanting is context here. You mentioned so many prominent names that have been named in previously unsealed documents. We saw that when about 40 pages and 40 unsealed depositions were released in January of 2024. We had really little to no context then. And in this latest release of documents, we see a list of names. We see now current President Donald Trump. We see former President Bill Clinton's name, but we don't know what association they had with Jeffrey Epstein, if really they had much of an association at all. And I think that's where these documents fall short in providing context. There's no indication that any of these people on these flight logs in Epstein's book of contacts had really any wrongdoing other than Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, which were the the majority of the names listed in these flight logs really were. So across the board here in Palm Beach County, where of course this case is based, that's the criticism. People feel a little bit let down by this first phase of documents, and I think are hoping for more to be released in the days to come.
And it seems Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, who was the Attorney General down in Florida, wants this done. And it looks like there may be a little bit of friction between her and the folks up in New York out of the Southern District who may have some more information that has not been made public yet. Any update on what's going on between the fight between the Attorney General and the Southern District of New York, the FBI agents there and the folks in the U.S. Attorney's Office?
Yeah, absolutely. As you are likely aware, Vinny, Attorney General Pam Bondi had sent a letter yesterday, just hours before the release from the Department of Justice of these 200 pages of documents. She wrote this letter to current FBI Director Kash Patel demanding the release of what she says are thousands of documents she's claiming the FBI agency up in New York has currently withheld for years and years and years. And she's saying that she had asked for all of the evidence in the Jeffrey Epstein probe to be turned over to the U.S. Attorney General's office. She says she had only received those 200 pages we saw released. She's asking Patel to not only release the rest of those thousands of pages, she had actually given Patel and the FBI of New York a deadline of 8 o'clock this morning, but she had also demanded that Patel conduct an internal investigation as to why those pages weren't previously released. And Vinny, we've actually consulted on multiple sources that know this case inside and out down here in Palm Beach County. Former state attorney, the prosecutor for this county, Dave Ehrenberg, and we've also consulted on an FBI agent from Miami who's now retired. He had worked very closely with the FBI agents investigating the Epstein case, and both of them say it's absolutely possible. We haven't received all the evidence that is out there, and specifically our state attorney down here had told us that in 2019, when the FBI had raided Epstein's house, they did find a thumb drive. And he says that we still have not seen the contents of that thumb drive. Is it any more damning evidence than what we've already seen? We don't know. We maybe will never know. But I think that's what Bondi is hoping to get out of the New York FBI agency here. So maybe we will see that evidence more forthcoming in the future.
And I know you'll be on top of it, and we will call on you again. Kate Hussey, down there in West Palm Beach, a beautiful place to live with our Scripps News Group. Thank you so much. Quick programming note, a Utah mother accused in the death of her National Guard husband faces a judge next week. Jennifer Gledhill is charged in the death of her husband, Michael Johnson. Gledhill was arrested last October on charges of murder and obstruction of justice. Her husband's body has not been found. During the hearing, Gledhill's attorneys are expected to ask for bail, and the state could share new evidence in the case. Tune in to Court TV Monday for the latest on this hearing. When we come back, as I previously promised, something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinny Politan Investigates, is it a good idea to represent yourself? Lori Daybell thinks so. Tonight, we take a look at other murder defendants who represented themselves, like Darrell Brooks, Ty Tucker, and Ronnie O'Neill.
Join Court TV's Vinny Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinny Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
How can anybody think I'm guilty? I said, OJ, everybody thinks you're guilty.
Trial and Error. Why did OJ win? New episode Sunday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on Court TV.
Time to reveal something else you need to know. Let's take a look at the big board. Sentenced today, 76-year-old Ellen Gillen, sentenced to 366 days in prison for shooting her terminally ill husband, but she did it in a hospital bed back in 2023 and was sentenced today, and she spoke. Let's take a listen.
2 days before his death, the doctor came in and said it would be at least 3 more weeks before they could consider removing the tracheotomy tube. At that time, he started begging me to help him end his life. We discussed various methods. The gun he owned seemed to be the only way that we could successfully achieve his wishes. He took the safety off the gun, and I took it out of his hand. I held the gun behind his ear. I pulled it away and asked him if he was sure. He raised his hand and placed it on my arm and pushed the gun to his head. There was a loud bang, and he was gone. I was already crying, and I became hysterical.
My aunt has lived with me for the last 2 years, and I really thought I'd be bringing her home today. So I'm a little bit shocked, and I'm very worried about her. But I'm told it's fair and that it's actually a good outcome. It's just going to be hard not being with her every day. I've been with her every day for the last 2 years, and that's all.
Obviously a tragedy across the board. The judge said, though, the sentence was about the effects that her behavior had on other patients and people who were in the hospital. So there it is. That's a tough case, tough case. Take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is Hunter Wilson. Hunter is just 16 years old, and he's missing out of Houston, Texas since the 18th of February. Please, if you see Hunter, take a look at the face. If you see Hunter, make the call, make a difference. You can call 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Houston Police Department in Texas. That phone number's on your screen now. Let's see if we can get Hunter to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.